Every entrepreneur, the heart has to be able to tell a very good story. Let me tell you a very good story first, and what I mean by why the story has to come in front. In the business plan, the only thing that matters is the story that you're telling to people, that you actually walk them through. I'm very ashamed to admit that I have bought a Jinzu knife. How many of you know what a Jinzu knife is? Somebody, please. Okay, let me ask you a different question. How many of you have watched Made in TV show, jo aata hai? Just made for TV. The advertisement jo aata hai na, they show a little guy who's making something or something like that in the TV, and it's a 15-minute ad, and they said this is a product just made for TV. How many of you have watched those ads? Arey, come on, yaar. Tum log sab log TV dekhte ho, yaar. You haven't watched the ads? Very bad, very, very bad. Ah, good boys, good boys. The Jinzu knife is the only knife in the world that can cut your shoe. Only knife in the world that can cut your shoe. I'll tell you why. So what happened was, late in the evening sometime, I'm sitting and watching TV, and that is the reason why now in the last 5 years, I've gotten rid of my TV. So the Jinzu knife, the guy is sitting over there, and what he does is, how many of you have cut tomatoes? The rest of you are not married, because your wife or husband will make you cut tomatoes. How many of you have cut onions? The rest of you, I'm sure, again, are not married, because most people don't want to cut onions. They want their spouse to cut their onions. You know? So you know what the problem is with cutting tomatoes? Punita, aap batao. You know what the problem is with cutting tomatoes? When you keep the tomato and you try to cut it, most times it starts to squish. It's because the knife is bad, na? Most tomatoes are okay. So they got this guy who's got a very nice, kitchen table, and he's put the tomato there, and he says, I'm trying to cut the tomato with this knife. And he takes this knife, and he goes, tomato squishes. How many of you have had this problem? So I'm like, हाँ यार, मेरा भी यही problem है. This problem, I'm the customer. ये problem, मेरा ही problem है. Then he takes an onion, pyaj, and he keeps it on the table, and he takes the blunt knife, and he tries to cut it, and he starts crying. All of us have cried when we cut onions. The guys who have not cut onions don't know about this problem at all, right? When you cut onions, do you cry or don't cry? Please raise your hand if you cry. Excellent. So then he says, listen, I've got this new, wonderful Jinzu knife. He picks the Jinzu knife. He keeps the tomato. Shik! Brilliant cut. And he takes the tomato again and goes shik, 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 shik. He's able to cut it in beautiful slices. I'm like, arey, sahi hai yaar. This is very, very good. But we all know, the first time you buy a knife and you cut a tomato, it cuts very well, right? What happens the next time? 2-3 mahine mein bigad jayega, right? So then he takes the onion, keeps it on the kitchen table, and he starts to cut it. And he doesn't cry. I'm like, arey, how is this possible? And it turns out that they've actually got a small little notch that goes on the knife to the top, right? So that tomato or onions, when you cut onions, it actually releases an acid, and that causes glycerine to come out. So he actually cuts it like that, no problem. He's not able to cry. I'm like, arey, this is excellent. That is exactly what I want. The whole point of the story was, you as a customer, if you are trying to buy a knife, you need a knife that actually stays not and doesn't get blunt throughout the life usage of the knife itself. The business plan in particular has to be able to convey to your customer that you've got to be with them through the problem. Because customers believe that anybody who identifies the problem very, very well is the only person that has got a solution to the problem, right? And the third thing I'll tell you is, all of these things are not worth the paper that they're printed on. So don't write long-winded 42-page business plans. Keep it to about a page. Most likely you'll be more successful than that.